Jeff Bezos is worth $150 billion. And a company that produced the CEO that's worth $150 billion paid no taxes. Zero. Amazon paid no taxes. The company that has the CEO that's worth $150 billion and the company paid no taxes, I'm talking about Amazon, is now trying to work a sweetheart deal. I'm sorry, something's behind. With New York, particularly Governor Cuomo, that would have $1 billion in benefits going to this company. Now, not just $1 billion in benefits going to the company, but a helipad. New York taxpayers would be on the hook to buy them a helipad. You can't make this shit up. One of the most profitable companies on the planet in the history of history is now potentially going to get a helipad paid for by the taxpayers of New York. Now, the question becomes, what is New York getting in exchange for this? Well, companies do this thing where they parade themselves about the country and lawmakers prostrate themselves for those companies. But the economic benefits are nebulous. What the person gets is essentially this kind of political credit of, look at the jobs that I brought to you all at once. When the honest reality is, it's hard to see the real economic benefit from what's taking place. The only thing they get to show is this kind of splashy job thing, but they could have made those gains through other means without prostrating themselves for the company. $150 billion, Jeff Bezos. And Cuomo has worked out a sweetheart deal to give that company that paid no tax a helipad. The Democrats, some Democrats that have just been elected into New York, are trying to prevent that particular deal from going through and to use that money to buy up and pay down student debt. Fucking A. Let's take a look at the story. The story is amazing. Will New York fund Amazon subsidies or student debt relief? New York Governor Andrew Cuomo made headlines begging Amazon cite its second headquarters in its state. Now, however, prominent Democrats in the state Senate and Assembly have slammed the idea of offering taxpayer subsidies to the retail giant, as they should. Democratic Assemblyman Ron Kim announced, Democrat Senator Ron Kim announced that he will introduce legislation to slash New York economic development subsidies to use the money to buy up and cancel student debt, a move that would provide a bigger boost to the state's economy. The legislation, says Kim, would halt any Cuomo administration offer of taxpayer money to Amazon, which could reap into $1 billion in tax incentives if it moves to Long Island City. The deal is a goodie bag for Amazon. It includes everything from $325 million cash grant, New York money, tax cash grant, to a promise that taxpayers will secure a helipad for Amazon executives. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? One of the most profitable companies on the planet. Why on earth are you prostrating yourself in this way? This economic benefit that you believe that you can make from this, can you make it in other ways where you don't necessarily have to give up millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer money and a goddamn helipad? That's sad. But Andrew Cuomo, ladies and gentlemen, this is another take on the story. But this take on the story is, even though it's in different words, similar to the other take. With 2 new headquarters, will Amazon get to double dip on the tax breaks? The $800 billion company will receive upwards of $2.8 billion in performance-based incentives. Now, if you go down to the bottom and you get the real story, all of this other stuff, and then you have to come to the bottom and get the real story. Critics question the general value that states the cities receive. There's a reasonable amount of evidence that tax incentives don't much benefit the locality that offers them, Glazer said. The job measure is important because it becomes the draw politicians present to their constituents. Meaning, hey, look at all these jobs, and you can do it in one big gash. Amazon is going to create X number of jobs. But in general, tracking down the economic effect is tricky, making the measurement of success potentially flawed. It's money for the haves, who have the least need for it, but are being paid in essence a ransom or bribe to come or stay here, said Davy Lewis, a human resource consultant in Norwalk, Connecticut. According to Ryan McCalkin, an economist, a senior editor at the Ludwig von Mises Institute, the account to attract big businesses may be misplaced. Had these policymakers simply adopted policies that benefited local government, small government owners, and entrepreneurs, they may have very well had at least as much job growth, he said. But that job growth would be harder to calculate and attribute to a single new policy or a certain business, and harder to take credit for. Tell me you understand what I'm saying here. Cuomo or many of the other governors are incentivized to do this, not because it's a benefit to the populace itself. They can make that benefit through other means, as opposed to just giving away taxpayer money, but because it's incentivizes them to say, look at all these jobs that I've created. But it's somewhat of a unicorn. When you look at the reality of it is, those gains can be made in other ways. This is NBC News. This is as establishment gets. Even they are saying this. Let's go back to the other reporting. I'm sorry, guys. I'm stopped up. Capital in Maine. This is Davis Rhoda. I like Davis Rhoda. Giving Bezos hundreds of millions of dollars is a moral waste of money when it's crystal clear that the money would create more jobs and more economic growth and used to relieve student debt, said Kim. And he's right. Let's keep on. Who recently published an op-ed in the law professor Zephyrin Chichow criticizing the Amazon deal. Giving Amazon this type of corporate welfare is no different, if not worse, than Donald Trump giving trillions in corporate tax breaks at the federal level. There is no correlation between healthy, sustainable job creation and corporate giveaways. If use this money to cancel distressed student debt instead, there will be an immediate positive GDP growth, job creation, impact, social, economic returns. I love that. I love that. In New York, student debt has ballooned. A 2016 report by State Comptroller Thomas DiNapoli's office found that the delinquency rate among New York student loan borrowers rose more than a third over the past decade, while average borrower balances increased at nearly 48% to $32,200. A memo outlining Kim's bill says that the legislation would empower New York officials to exercise their eminent domain power to buy, cancel, and or monetize the state's out-of-control student debt, which the memo says totals more than $82 billion. Kim's move followed criticism of a possible Amazon deal by Senator Michael Gianaris, who led the Democrats' successful effort to win control of the chamber and who was expected to be in one of the Senate top's jobs. Our massive corporate welfare from scarce public resources is one of the wealthiest corporations in the world. Let me read that one more time. Offering massive corporate welfare from scarce public resources to one of the wealthiest corporations in the world at a time of great need in our state is just wrong. Generis and City Council member Jimmy Van Bramer, both of whom represent Long Island, said in a press release, the burden should not be on the 99% to prove that we are worthy for the 1%'s presence in our communities, but rather for Amazon to prove it will be a responsible corporate neighbor. Yes! Yes! That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. Instead of prostrating yourself with your ass up in the air, all of these places putting their ass up in the air for Jeff Bezos to sniff and determine which one he wants. Finally, someone with a spine saying, look, it is not for us to give you all of this money, to give you a helipad out of our coffers when our coffers are low already. It is for you to determine, or it is for you to show us that you'll be good stewards. I love that. I love that. I love that. God damn it, 1,000 times I love that. The company that has $150 billion CEO, a CEO that's worth $150 billion and paid no taxes, is trying to get billions of dollars in tax breaks from these various locales. None of these locales should do that. If Amazon wants to create a business in one of these locales, let it. But all of the locales should be in unison saying, no, we're not giving you squat. If you want to use your billions of dollars to set up home here, fair enough. But you're not going to get welfare to do it. Jeff Bezos, welfare queen. It's amazing. I'll end this here. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, and subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon.